Over the past 2 or 3 years, I've been absolutely obsessed with shooting film photography, and much like many other folks out there, I've realized through shooting film how expensive shooting film actually is. If you followed this channel for any amount of time, you know that in the past I've tried talking about ways to mitigate film cost and film expenses, i.e. scanning your film in home. Now in that past video, I was doing this with my iPhone, which I think is a great way to scan your film for quick turnaround, especially if you're just wanting to view on your phone or if you're wanting to post it to social media. However, as of late, I really wanted to build my dream DSLR/mirrorless scanning setup, not only for permanent use here in my home, but I'm also teaching others how to do it as well. So I figured it was time to step up my game with a professional scanning setup. My goal is to show you this setup as well as some alternatives that will make it even more cost effective if you are wanting to start scanning with your DSLR or mirrorless camera. And before we go too far, I do want to thank Valoi because they are the company that was able to make this setup happen for me. And they've also provided a discount code, which I'll put in the description below, if you would like to check out any of their scanning setups for yourself. The first piece of equipment that you're going to need to scan film with a DSLR or mirrorless camera is a DSLR or mirrorless camera. And I've chosen to use the Lumix S5ii because it's the camera that I already own and I use it for practically everything. Now you don't have to have the latest and greatest camera in order to scan film. I know plenty of people who do it with older DSLRs. As long as you have a camera with raw capabilities, to me that's what matters when it comes to scanning with your camera. I think more important than the camera is actually the lens that you decide to use with your scanning setup. I have opted to use a Canon 50mm f/d 3.5 macro. It's important that it's macro because when it comes to camera scanning, the more that you have to crop in after taking the picture, the less detail you're going to have in your final film scan. Taking that a step further, this particular lens is only a 1:2 ratio macro, so I've also purchased the Canon extension tube. It's the FD25 extension tube, which was made for this lens back in the 70s or 80s whenever it was developed. With this extension tube, I'm now scanning film at a 1:1 ratio, which means I don't have to crop any after I've shot my frame. I'm getting a true 1:1 readout from what I'm scanning from the negative. Is this a make or break thing if you don't have a 1:1 macro lens? Not really. Just remember that you are going to lose pixels whenever you start cropping into your image as you're scanning your negatives. Again, an alternative to a mirrorless camera or macro lens setup would be just scanning with your iPhone. When it comes to cost though, it's pretty hard to beat a vintage lens like this. I got this lens for $50 and I got the extension tube for $10. So all in all, my lens and extension tube setup was $60 to get me in the ball game with a 1:1 film scanning setup. Now I'm adapting the macro lens with this Fotis, I don't know how to pronounce it. This is the FD to L adapter that I've used for a long time now with my Lumix bodies because I do shoot with a lot of vintage Canon glass. I think this adapter was like 15 or 20 bucks, just to give you an idea. Moving on to the actual light bed, the film holder, as well as the copy stand for the camera that I use. This is where Valoi makes an absolute difference. They sent me the Enthusiast Kit, which includes the light bed, the film adapter, and the film holder trays. Now again, you don't have to have this set up in order to properly scan negatives. A alternative would be just an Amazon light mat, which I used for a long time with my phone. As well as some way to hold your film negatives flat. And I'm redneck, so I did them with hard drives or whatever I could use to hold the negatives flat. You can also use tape. This just slows the process down. The big key when it comes to DSLR film scanning is efficiency, speed and efficiency at which you can scan your negatives. So this is where the Enthusiast Kit comes in so handy. It includes the 120 and the 35mm holders. It includes the Cinestill light bed in order to illuminate your negative so that you can take a picture to convert, and the negative base, which holds everything nice and flat. It's heavy, so it's not moving around while you're trying to scan. This was the issue that I had when trying to scan negatives solely with the light bed and hard drives and tape and everything else. It's slow, the film moves, and it's hard to keep everything perfectly flat, which is very important when you're scanning film. copy stand that I'm using is the Valoi Essentials V2. This copy stand is a wonderful, wonderful product. Again, it's heavy, it's ruggedly built. The only gripe that I have with the copy stand is I do wish that the head were a little more stable. It seems to be a 3D or ABS plastic type material. It's stable enough, but I do wish that the head that my camera attached to was the same material as the rest of the copy stand, which I believe to be steel. So it's nice, heavy, durable. Again, it's not going to move around. That's my only gripe with this copy stand. And really and truthfully, you can use a tripod for this as long as you have a good sturdy tripod that allows your camera to get over the film negatives flatly. You don't actually have to have a copy stand. On the inverse of that, there are certainly more heavy-duty copy stands out there. I've seen very extravagant setups, so the sky's the limit as far as how you're holding your camera. What did you think about those scans? Were you able to tell a massive noticeable difference between a scan that I got from a lab versus scanning here in my home? If so, I'd love to know that down in the comments below. I hope this video was helpful for you if you are thinking about getting into in-home DSLR and mirrorless scanning. I know it's been a pretty cool process for me. Not only is it a massive money saver compared to the lab, but it's been pretty therapeutic. I think one of the reasons that I love film so much is the process. I love the mechanical camera bodies. I love loading film. I love the feeling of shooting it. I love the surprise of not knowing if I actually got an image when I do get my film back from development. It's one of those things where I love the tactile nature of film and especially scanning. But the big thing with a DSLR and mirrorless scanning setup, again, is speed, efficiency, and cost effectiveness. With all that being said, I would love to know what your favorite scanning methods are. Leave those down in the comments below. Also, if there's anything about my setup that I can improve upon, or if you have any questions, feel free to drop those down in the comments below. And again, if you would like to check out any of the Valoi products for yourself, you can look at my discount code in the description below. And as always, if you like this video, want to see more like it in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. I love growing this community here on YouTube. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you in the next.